Yo guys, welcome back. Today we're going over Freyna. I get a lot of requests for these builds, so here we are. I think Freyna is a great Descendant, but in my opinion, she falls off a bit compared to some others towards the later Colossus fights, but still worth the investment with how strong her mobbing is, and definitely a great starter character for a new player. We will cover 3 builds: Venom Injection Shield build, used for Deathstalker; Venom Injection 1 Burst Venom Baptism build, used to 1 phase most hard Colossus; and a mobbing build. And now let's look over the Deathstalker shield build. And this is a Venom injection build. We're also using overwhelming shield, and to add more shield, increased shield, HP conversion shield, and increased HP. As for the rest of the mods, we have our 2 cooldown mods with MP conversion, nimble fingers, focus on tech, and focus on toxic for more cooldown and damage, and dangerous ambush. I am as well running toxic amplification. If you do not feel comfortable with the Deathstalker fight, I would suggest moving Toxic Amplification out and maybe putting in another HP mod to gain more shield. And now moving on to our reactor, I have a Colossus cooldown reactor. I like to have the cooldown because usually if I am pugging this, I am going to get 2 Venom baptisms off in 1 phase, which I find to be very nice. That's why I have also built in the cooldown with the mods. And as for our set, I am running the Distorted Resolve set. If you do not have this set and you are new to Deathstalker and just trying to beat it, just be sure to put on components with max HP as the main stat. Shield can also work, and match these substats that I will read out. The auxiliary power, MP recovery out of combat, max HP. For the sensor, max MP, MP recovery in combat. For the memory, defense and MP recovery modifier. And for the processor, max shield, shield recovery modifier. Moving on to our weapon of choice for Venom Baptism, I will be using the Secret Garden. There is a lot of weapons that work for this. As for the subset that you are really looking for, it would be rounds per magazine. And into the mods, there are only really 4 mods that you need here. I just happen to have mine built, so I will remove the rest of the mods. And this is the 4 mods that you want to have on for this build to work. The other mods do not affect the damage of Venom Baptism. As for our weapon we will be using when we are not using Venom Baptism, we will be using Enduring Legacy. Substats: firearm attack, firearm critical hit damage, bonus firearm attack versus Colossus, and firearm critical hit rate. Critical hit rate can also be weak point or fire damage. Into the mods, we are using a sharp precision shot build, running double fire enhancement and expand weapon charge for the larger magazine. And as for our third weapon, I'm simply just running a weapon for general round economy. We are using general rounds compulsive, expand general magazine, and normal special rounds refining. And we pull this out, we're going to pick up general rounds bricks, and this will grant us extra general rounds. And for our inversion reinforcement, I am running fire focus rounds to buff our enduring legacy, neural concentration reinforcement, and heightened sensory cells. And next, we will go over our 1 burst Venom Baptism build. This is still a Venom injection build. We are using a ton of damage mods here. We have maximize power, maximize skill, tech amplification, toxic amplification, dangerous ambush, venom syncytium, and spear and shield. As for the other 3 mods, we are using 1 duration and 2 for the range of our abilities. So when we cast our 1 and 3 before the Colossus spawns, they stay there long enough and they have a wide enough range to also damage him while we are shooting him. Moving into our reactor, I have a toxic tech with tactical rifle mounting, skill cooldown, and Colossus damage. Ideally, you would want Colossus damage and tech damage, or then toxic damage. I just have not gotten one of these, and this is the one that I have upgraded to 5, but it works just fine. And as for our set, we are running the Slayer set. On the auxiliary power, max HP, MP recovery out of combat. On the sensor, max MP, MP recovery in combat. The memory, MP recovery modifier and defense. And the processor, max shield with toxin resist. I'm using toxin resist just to be able to take less damage from the hits of Deathstalker. Shield recovery modifier will also work great here. As for our weapon, this is what I will be using for Venom Baptism. There's a bunch of other ones you can use, but this is what I have built. Rounds per magazine is a must on the substats, and like previous, These are the 4 mods that are necessary for this build. I just happen to have mine built out, but this is all you need. No further investment for this build. And as for this weapon, I just have this here for firing Fiesta. You see me use it in the Gluttony fight mostly. And another way to build this, what you would see in Swamp Walker, which is with spray and pray. As you've seen in Swamp Walker, I shot the boss, got a critical hit, then casted my Venom baptism, and I was able to shoot for 3 seconds without using any ammo. And now we will get into our mobbing build. This is a Contagion build, and I do use multi-talented. I prefer multi-talented, not for the ability spam of just the 1 and 3, but also the cooldown reduction of our Venom baptism, specifically at the end of the dungeons when you have 2 bosses to kill, and you are going to need multiple of these. Using multi-talented and proccing it off of this will, in terms, cut this cooldown in half. As for the rest of our build, we're using Focus on Tech, Focus on Toxic Amplification for our damage mods. I do like to run 2 HP mods just because I prefer the comfort of having all that HP. I do not want to die. I do not want to be on the floor. You do no damage when you are on the floor. I'm also running Skill Expansion, Nimble Fingers, MP Conversion, and MP Collector. As for my reactor, I have a cooldown tech reactor. This is not optimal. A toxic tech would be probably the most optimal since you do not really need the cooldown with multi-talented, but this is just what I have and it works fine. Cooldown toxic would also work very well. As for our set, we are using the Slayer set on the auxiliary power, max HP, MP recovery out of combat. For the sensor, max MP, MP recovery in combat. For the memory, MP recovery modifier and defense. For the processor, max shield and toxin resist. As for our weapon, we are using the Secret Garden. This is buffing our skills with proccing off of our tech skills. And as for the mods, you only need these 4 mods for your Venom baptism. And for our inversion reinforcement for this mobbing build, we are going to Neuro Concentration, Heightened Sensory Cells, and RK Boost. And that covers everything for this Freyna build guide. If you have any questions or suggestions about the build, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe is very much appreciated. Thanks, guys. Peace.